What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and another one that was very anticipated on this extremely metal weekend. But with us and this channel, every weekend's pretty damn metal, honestly.
Every single weekend.
Yeah.
Every single weekend for the last 5 years has been a metal weekend.
But this weekend had a lot of badass releases, and we're about to go over another one with the latest offering from Skeletal Remains, Fragments of the Ageless. This also comes out on the 8th of March on Century Media Records. This band formed in 2011 in California. This is their 5th full-length overall. I have been a fan since their debut album, Beyond the Flesh, and I've been watching this band essentially just keep getting better with every release since that.
Better and tighter. I got into this band in 2018 with Devouring Mortality. Then, of course, in 2020, The Entombment of Chaos came out and blew me away. We've seen them multiple times since then.
And for those that don't know, this is just nasty, old-school death metal, very much in the vein of Floridian, just awesomeness, bands like Morbid Angel, Monstrosity, Cannibal Corpse, stuff like that. And this is their first album with some new members here, though these members have been touring with the band for a number of years now. The first one with Brian Rush on bass and Pierce Williams on drums, both of which are in the band Enigmatum, which is really awesome, technical, progressive, atmospheric death metal. It's a wild listen. But we've been like really eager to go over this one just because, again, I feel like this band gets tighter and possibly more vicious with every album.
Starts off with the opening track, Relentless Appetite, and it is just blasty out of the gate and begins a barrage of non-stop riffing.
Yeah, you don't even have time to back away from the speakers from the second the needle drops. It just immediately explodes. It sounds vicious, tight. The riffs are just monstrous. There is just palpable aggression behind every single note. And throughout their releases, I look for subtle changes because this band has like a very just steady sound across the board. Albeit I do think they get like a little bit tighter and maybe a little bit more aggressive here in these last two albums. But the one thing that I noticed right away is Chris's vocal approach is a bit different on here.
It's not just him doing the standard like Pestilence, Aesophyx, Martin Van Druin style vocals. Like, normally he just stays in one register. I mean, he's also playing guitar while he does it, so I get it. But in this case, he's exploring a lot more avenues vocally. Yeah,
a lot more deep vocals across the board, but you do get a little bit of those, like, more ghastly, vocals that come in. Like, he hasn't completely abandoned the Martin Van Druin approach, but most of it is more of this low roar. And there's also, like, a touch more reverb on his vocals as well. So you get, like, a little bit more of, like, I wouldn't say, like, full-on cavernous effect, but there's kind of more to them. And once again, this band got, Dan the Man Swano to do production and Dan Seagrave to do the artwork. Combination of Dan's there that works very, very well, I think.
Dan squared.
But in comparison to Entombment of Chaos, the sound of this album, I feel like, is a little bit warmer. Like, it kind of has, I don't know, like a little bit more of like that analog warmth, especially when it comes down to like the drum sound. The clickiness, I don't think is really there. It's more of just like a big, just massive thump.
Yeah, machine gun thump for that matter. I feel tired for Pierce on every angle of this album. He does not slow down much at all. That double kick is blazing throughout every song. Like, it's nuts.
Honestly, part of the reason why I would draw a lot of Morbid Angel comparisons is the drum work. The drum work is very Sandoval-ish, like the quick turnovers, the rapid-fire blast beats, the double bass work on here, again, is absolutely insane. All of it gives this a big Morbid Angel vibe, and then you compound on top of that the riff work. The riff work across the board on this album is intense. In fact, it doesn't let up.
No.
At any point on here, even in its slower, more groovier moments, it is just on the nose, that blend of like Morbid Angel style tremolos with big sinister harmonies, or that kind of tight, angular, kind of crushing style of riff that Suffocation is known for. It's kind of a blend of those two things, and if you are a 90s death metal fan, you should already be absolutely in love with how I'm describing this.
I've noticed the lead work has come up not only in quality, but in intricacy as well. Way more thought to the leads and the harmonies. The lead harmonies are something special in here. In songs like Forever in Sufferance and Verminous Embodiment, both those songs have really awesome lead harmonies. In fact, there's a lot of twin leads all over this album, too.
Yeah. Some of the lead trade-offs seem like they kind of overlap a little bit, but they overlap with like a cool harmony or in some way that plays off of the last lead. So when the one's going out, the other ones come in and they kind of just meet up for a second and shake hands, and then one goes about its way. You also, of course, get a lot of the straightforward, just, death metal leads where you expect a lot of dive bombs, wicked shredding. The whole gear of this album is definitely more on the aggressive side. It kind of just revels in just being pinpoint precise, but also just like a battering ram. In fact, there's very few moments on here where you really get a chance to catch your breath. There's a couple of more atmospheric moments on here, but for the most part, they're only minor pit stops before you get on to the next crushing riff. And the front half of this album, namely the first, I would say
5 songs.
5 songs are blistering fast. This moves at an absolutely ridiculous pace, kind of firing off riffs and blast beats like machine gun fire.
Closer to Decapitated almost, as far as the syncopation and how fast they're moving, because you really got to listen in for the syncopation too. It's in there, but it's just coming at you rocket fast.
Honestly, the slower moments are more packed towards the back half. Once you get to the halfway point, which I would assume is probably side B in the vinyl. I don't collect vinyl, so I don't know. But I would assume this is at Ceremony of Impiety, which is a really interesting instrumental. It's kind of gothic, but also kind of classic horror synth. You get a tribal pattern in terms of drums behind it. It's very ominous sounding. This is the metal score of, that awesome scene in Temple of Doom where, dude get his heart ripped out. If you were a kid in the 80s and you went to go see that with your family, you probably had nightmares after that. Well, this is that, except more metal. But after that, you get the songs like Unmerciful and the instrumental Evocation, The Rebirth, and notably more groovy, a little bit more sinister in terms of the atmosphere, because most of this just kind of thrives on being aggressive as hell. There's definitely moments where oh, that's a spooky riff, but it is just beating you over the head. It's spooky like Jason Voorhees is spooky. You have a couple of seconds go, man, he's spooky, and then there's a machete through your brain. Those two tracks kind of take time to build up the atmosphere a little bit. Kind of, give you a chance to bask in those sinister tremolo harmonies. Again, being a little bit more slow. There's more time to build up before they get to the inevitable blast beats, because with this album, blast beats are coming. Just trust me.
Actually, Unmerciful has less blast beats than anything on the record. That's definitely more mid-tempo, way more sinister, I think. That whole song is out to fuck you up.
Lots of Cannibal Corpse groove in there, too, and just massive, massive sounding riffs. But this band has kind of found a good way to work in melody, just kind of subtly. Because there is no point in here where, again, I feel like this album is lax in the brutality department. But when it comes down to melody, though, it's kind of a little bit more subtle, but it's definitely there. And there's some really good hooks in here, especially on To Conquer the Devout. I think there's some really good melodic passages on there too. Kind of surprised me just because this band is not necessarily known for melody. It is known for pretty much everything we've been talking about.
Breakneck speed brutality.
There you go. All that stuff. But it's kind of cool how it's subtly peppered in there.
And there are a couple cool moments in this album where they take time to definitely showcase the talent of these guys, specifically the rhythm section, especially in songs like Forever in Sufferance. There's a cool drum and bass transition. And then in the massive Evocation, The Rebirth, their instrumental, I mean, that definitely showcases the talent of all these guys. But there's another really cool drum and bass section where Pierce and Brian you could see how well they work together.
Yeah, on Evocation in particular, it's got this kind of funky wah filter on the bass. And I don't know, it's just sort of I don't know, it's very different. It's probably one of the most different sounding moments on this entire album, but I really like it. Kind of, again, it showcases a little bit of variety in their sound, because if I were to make a complaint on here, it would be that it sounds very rooted in what this band is about.
Yeah.
However, what this band is about in terms of again, that very classic Floridian sound, or just 90s death metal in general, they nail it.
Yeah.
I know people say like, well, it's not as though they're reinventing the wheel. I like wheels. Give me lots of wheels. Wheels that sound like this, I'm totally cool with it, because when something sounds very similar to the bands that they emulate, the next thing that I look for is execution of sound. Like, all right, well, do they nail that sound? And in my opinion, Skeletal Remains has nailed that sound on every album so far.
Yeah, not once have I heard this band and gone, well, they lost what they started with. It sounds like they sold out. No, it sounds like they are very much a big fan of awesome bands, and they emulate that well every time you hear them. Yeah, they have one gear. If I wanted to make a complaint, it would be that this band has one gear. However,
they're going 90.
Right, they're going... right.
It was good.
However, within that gear, they are going very fast, and they're doing it very well.
I'll also say that the blistering pace of this and the fact that it is just densely packed riffs and aggression, it can kind of make some songs run together, especially in the front half, because they all kind of have a very similar pace. Forever in Sufferance does kind of break it up a little bit, being a little bit more focused on the double time groove for a bigger chunk of the song, but this band can't wait to blast. And I don't blame them. Blast beats sound like a lot of fun if you can do them, and Pierce definitely can.
I cannot.
Pierce
can. I cannot.
And just to show you they do absolutely love Floridian death metal, they even throw in a nice little love letter with a cover of Messiah of Rage, originally done by Hate Eternal. And of course they nail it because, I mean, again, their love of all things 90s and Floridian death metal, you don't play it well if you don't love it.
Right.
I don't think that happens. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some bands out there that can fake it, but this band certainly isn't one of those bands that are faking it.
Yeah, this sounds 100% like Skeletal Remains covering Hate Eternal. That's the way it should sound. If you're going to cover a Hate Eternal song...
And your Skeletal Remains. That's the way it should sound. So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. Once again, this band has hit kind of that same mark of excellence that they've been hitting since I've been a fan of them. But I will say over the years, they've become tighter, more focused, and I think that comes out in here. Yeah, some of the songs can run into one another, but I don't think there's a bad song on here. Even the interlude, I didn't mind. I mean, I know for the vinyl listeners, that's a better way to start off side 2 than the next song just exploding in your face right away.
Sure.
Kind of like the opening track did. But this just packs everything that I have loved about death metal since I was a teenager. And it's really hard for me to not shake that nostalgic vibe. And also, it comes down to the execution at that point, too. And this band just knows how to flat out execute this sound. The leads are excellent. The drum work is absolutely insane. I like Chris's new vocal approach, or slightly different vocal approach. It adds like just a little bit more... maybe Morbid Angel to it? I don't know. I mean, it already had a lot of Morbid Angel to it. A little bit more oomph. Yeah. But yeah, everything about this album is absolutely awesome. And I mean, if you're a fan of, again, Morbid Angel, Monstrosity, Cannibal Corpse, Suffocation, pick a 90s death metal band that you love that does blast beats and tremolos and has a little bit of a thrashy background to it. They sound like this band. So yeah, if any of that sounds awesome to you, check this out.
It's also a very solid 4 for me. I mean, I kind of knew it would be anyway. These guys just don't let up in what they do. They write fiercely 90s sounding old school death metal, and they never miss a beat. If anything, they add more beats to it because they love blast beats, and it shows. In 2022, if I am remembering correctly, this band played somewhere around like 300 shows. I don't know if that was the exact number. I just remember talking to them once and them mentioning that they played an ass ton of shows that year. You can't play all those shows together and be on tour nonstop and be constantly playing with each other without getting extremely tight. Like, you just can't. Like, if you practice makes perfect, right? So if you're
That's why I play with myself.
Practice makes perfect. And these guys have definitely practiced and played together a bunch, and it shows. The record is violent and unrelenting in its riffing. It's just nonstop. And, like Nick said too, yeah, a couple of the songs can run into each other. They do play in one gear, but they do it well. And there's still intricacies to every song to set them apart. You really gotta listen for it, but they're in there. I do like the new bit of vocal dynamics. It's not like a hard shift by any means, but it does add a little bit more to each song just to keep things entertaining. I like the drum and bass standout moments. It's just something to break things up and still be a little bit like, hey, look what we can do and do really well. Haha. The production sounds great. The songs are tight. And much like we said, if you're into bands like Morbid Angel and Hate Eternal and Monstrosity and Cannibal Corpse and Suffocation and Pestilence and, a myriad of awesome bands from the 90s that still make great music today, you're going to love this record because Skeletal Remains knocks it out of the park. End of story.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below at thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel up in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts. We have new ones. We have old ones that if we have them in your size, they are discounted. And we even have hats. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below. And one more thing. Actually, not long after this review airs, I'll be over on Gas Mask and Hand Grenades channel. We are doing another Desert Island series, this time for classic heavy metal. So if you're not doing anything around 2 p.m., or at least 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, about an hour and a half after this comes out, go over to that channel, come hang out. It'll be a good discussion.
And check it out indeed. In fact, that's something you guys do a lot. You check out our videos, you've subscribed, you comment all the time. You continue to watch these videos and watch us rant and be stupid. I don't understand why, but we're thankful that you do. We genuinely appreciate all of you guys. Of course, tons more album reviews coming, collection updates, States of Metal, What's John Jamming, discography rankings. We got Meshuggah up next, which is going to be crazy. Yeah.
That's what the word means.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, that does mean. Good job. Thank you guys. We appreciate you. I'm not going to spend much more time talking your ear off, but we genuinely appreciate all of our fans and watchers and subscribers and whatnot. It means the world to us. The Thralls of Metal just continues to blow my mind, and the fact that it keeps growing, for whatever reason it does, we can't do it without you guys.
Things do tend to grow when there's blowing. Seriously, though, you guys are absolutely awesome. Tons of content coming your way. And one more big thank you, because you guys are absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
And we will catch you later.